Ryan, starting us off with Amarius Mims, barely played last year because of incumbent starters that were ahead of him. But the minute he had the opportunity to step in, he freaking shined. What background do you have on this kid?
So he is another 5-star recruit. He's out of Bleckley County in Cochran, Georgia. So he stayed in the state. 6'7", 330 pounds. Was a backup. Saw some reserve time in 2021 as a true freshman. This past year, he was also a reserve offensive tackle. The crazy part, Joe, is I don't know if you remember this, but after the 2021 season, he almost ended up transferring to Alabama. That almost happened. He literally entered the portal.
Could you imagine Latham and Mims on either tackle spot? That would have been ridiculous.
And then you could have moved Tyler Steen inside, man, and it would have been like, brother. That would have been a very good offensive line in that situation.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he almost transfers. He comes back for the 2022 season, and he's not a starter still. They had, obviously, Broderick Jones at left tackle, and then they had Warren McClendon, who started a decent amount of the season at right tackle.
Terrible. Terrible. Should never have happened.
I agree that Mims should have started over McClendon much earlier in the season. I agree there. I wouldn't say he was terrible, though, Joe. He was a solid player. He wasn't a great player, though. Sure.
Sorry.
You're so hyperbolic, man. You're just so hyperbolic. It's
damn right.
Either a guy's great and elite and going to make the Hall of Fame, or he sucks.
Yes.
It's just like, no, man.
I don't do that. I don't do that. But Warren McClendon was not a good football player last year. Okay. I didn't think he was very good.
Well, there was a reason, to your points, why he was replaced down the stretch of the season. The first game that I saw of Mims was against Ohio State, obviously in the first round of the playoffs. I think he may have also started I believe he started the last 3 games of the season. So I think he started the SEC championship game. I think he started the 2 playoff games, I believe. So we're only talking about a kid that's only started a couple games, man. So there's going to be a lot of people out there that are going to be like, guys, what are you talking about? You're talking about a 3-game starter as a draft prospect already? And I get it, folks. I get it. Because I'm one of those guys that's like, guys, can we let guys play a little bit? It was like the Anthony Richardson thing last offseason. I'm like, guys, he hasn't played yet, man. He started like 1 football game. Can we relax here?
Screw it.
Yeah.
Screw it. Let's get excited.
But you turn on the Ohio State game, working against guys like JT at defensive end, working against guys like Jack Sawyer and Zach Harrison. And I saw a lot of games where JT gave some dudes some fits, man. Absolute fits. Amarius Mims shut him down, Joe. Like, shut him down. This kid is stupid long, 6'7", long arms. I mean, I think we're going to have a great conversation of who has more length, him or Walt at the end of the day. Like, it's going to be a really good conversation, in my opinion. And he has, for a guy that is built the way he does, where he is just like a hoss, he moves incredibly well, man. And he plays controls. I'm watching him. I'm like, if this is your first or second start ever against Ohio State, then, man, I can't imagine with you with a full offseason of playing offensive tackle and starting. I mean, he's going to start at left tackle this year for Broderick Jones, obviously, as he departed. I think this kid has the upside to challenge as one of the first offensive tackles off the board, man. Like, I think that this is that kid. Again, massive projection because he hasn't played a ton. But if you're talking about height, length, athleticism, and flashes of dominance on film, what's not to like about Amarius Mims outside of him just having lack of experience? Like, there's just nothing not to like about him.
So you talked about the athleticism. Like, that's obviously the big thing that we get excited about here with these tackles. But the 2 other things I want to add in here, why I love what I saw every little bit on tape. The effortless power that he brings to the tackle position is frightening. There's some reps where he's just, it's almost like a love tap. It's like just a little pop, and guys are going right to the ground. The fact that he can do that without generating much force is pretty frightening. That he has that power profile that we almost didn't even get enough of a glimpse of, because he's not really, it almost feels like he's not engaging himself that much. He's able to generate that much power that easily. That to me is a big plus. But the other thing too, for a guy who's played so few games, the nuance and understanding of where to place himself and his body control is very, very significant. There were a lot of reps where I thought that he was able to win by just understanding where to put himself that would deter and disrupt the flow of where a defender was going. I had one.
2 plays that really pop out to me from Ohio State, Joe, that I wanted to highlight. One was he was on the backside of a zone play, and it was supposed to be a reach right from the backside. It ends up almost being a down block, and then someone cut off his butt as a runner. and he took number 58 for Ohio State. I don't know who he was, but a defensive tackle. He took him out of the screen, man, and then pancaked him. I was like, holy smokes, man. Because that kid's I mean, I don't know what 58 is on the roster, but like he's a defensive tackle, so he's got to be 290 plus pounds. Has to be. The natural power there is just bananas, man. Like I can't even fully quantify it. It's one of the, as a sophomore in college, one of the more incredible power profiles I have ever seen. And then the rep that was the most silly in that entire game, in my opinion, and you highlighted it on your thread, was there was a pass blocking rep against JT where he just stayed, in good body positioning and just kind of stalled him at the line of scrimmage. Joe, JT is 270 pounds and incredibly strong. It looked like he young boyed him, man. He was just like, nope, nope. And then JT just looked helpless trying to get off this block, man. I'm just like, that is a man amongst boys right there. And he's playing against a kid who might go in the first rounds next year and doing that to him. Like, it's wild, man. Amarius Mims is a pure upside projection. I fully admit that. But the traits this kid has is just bonkers, man. I've never seen anything like this. Here's hyperbolic, and this might be a little bit of just overzealousness off of watching his film, but he might have the best power profile of any sophomore I've ever watched. Like, he really might, man. Wow. He is just silly. He could sit down against anyone. It's just like not moving. The kid is made on a completely different planet than Earth, dude. I don't know where he's made, but he's insanely talented.
Just to highlight some of the things he does need to improve on,
sure.
I think
play more. He needs to play more.
Well, yes, that's the most obvious one, but I think his hands just can improve. I think his hand placement's a little bit inconsistent. I feel like there's a handful of reps where guys are just knocking his hands off a little bit too easy. He gets a little bit too wide. Like, that's really simple stuff. The fact that like that's all we're really talking about is pretty crazy, that we're not saying like, oh, he needs to fix X, Y, and Z. I just think it's like a little bit of a technical refinement of have better hands and get more reps under your belt so we can properly project you.
Yeah, because I think that he plays with decent bend too, right, man? Like, he's not stiff either. I think that there's some plays in the run game where he could probably fire out and play with a little bit of better pad level, but it's not in this egregious, like, Blake Freeland manner where I'm just like, Blake, you got to get lower, brother. Like, you just got to get lower. He has flexibility. He has length. He has strength. Here's a hot take, I guess. I would be shocked if he's not a top 15 pick in this next draft if he comes out. I would be shocked. Joe, they don't make guys like this, man. I don't think I'm being hyperbolic when I said this is one of the more gifted offensive tackle prospects that we've evaluated over the last few years. It doesn't mean he's going to end up being the best player. It doesn't mean that he's even going to end up being a huge riser in this class, because you never know what the development's going to look like in the season. But if we're just talking about 6'7", 330, long arms, athleticism, strength, profile, like, what's the negative here from a physical perspective? There's no negative from a physical perspective. The only negative is that he hasn't played enough. That's the only negative.
Well, see, that's the only thing, is that he theoretically could just fall off a cliff. Like, that's theoretically possible, and we've seen it happen before.
Could he though?
I hope it doesn't. I hope it doesn't happen, because like, what if he just shows up and he's in his head or something, and he just
Joe, I would say even
if he played a bunch,
even if he played average to below average football and he still came out for whatever reason, I think he would still go in the top 50, just because you'd be like, dude, look at that athleticism though. Like, that's just insane. Like, I don't know, man. I think baseline, this kid's going to get drafted very early, but I think he has the upside where if you told me today that he got drafted before Olu Fashanu next April, I don't think you're crazy. If you told me he got drafted before Joel, I don't think you're crazy. I don't. There's a massive projection to it, but I think it's possible, because offensive tackle traits matter so much, and this kid's traits are stupid. And in the limited opportunities that we saw, by the way, against Ohio State, that has multiple guys that are draftable players and pretty early draftable players next year, he dominated them. Like, he made it look like he was just toying with them at times. I don't know, man. I might be too bullish on this kid right now, but I just see this upside. I'm just like, if he's developed just adequately, good development, not even excellent development, I think this kid's a slam dunk first rounder, and I think he goes top 15 just based upon his athletic traits, as long as he's not an idiot off the field. Like, I don't know him personally. I don't know his background in that regard off the field, but as a football player, this kid has every tool in the book, man. Every single one.
Well, for that reason, I did give him a top 50 grade. Nice. There's a little bit of projection there, because like I didn't want to go higher than that, because 2 games is just not enough to make a decision off of. And I know that we kind of clown that thought process on this show, but I can't go higher than that until he's played more and he's strung together more consistent reps. But I'm on the same boat as you, man. This is a first round pick. He's going to be a first round pick when it's all said and done. He just needs to play a little bit more. And I think at the end of the cycle, we're going to be talking about him a lot differently.
19 to 32 is what I would grade him right now. And I know, again, it's a limited sample size, but as long as he's just the same player that he was against Ohio State game for an entirety this year, I think he's a first round pick, and I think he could challenge for being the first offensive tackle off the board. I really do. If he puts it all together, and the other two offensive tackles being Joe Alt and Olu Fashanu just are good, but maybe don't take massive step forward, then I think that Amarius Mims, excuse me, I keep want to call him Amarius Mims has that type of rise potential in this class.
Well, that's going to wrap us up on at Joe DeLeone, at Rise and Draft. Folks, we'll be back with another Scouting Report episode. Stay tuned. I just want to tell you folks about an exciting new partnership that we have with this channel with Underdog Fantasy. Ever since I joined, I've been having so much fun. There are so many different exciting games that make watching games during the offseason more exciting. I'm not the biggest basketball fan, but it has made it way more entertaining since I found Underdog Fantasy. And my favorite game to play so far, which I think you should try out, is Pick'em. It is so easy to play. Just pick higher or lower on your favorite player's stats, and you can win up to 20 times your money in a single night. Underdog keeps it simple with their easy-to-use website and mobile apps. Pick between 2 and 5 players to fill out your Pick'em slip, get every pick right, and take home some cold, hard cash. Use code HACK, H-A-C-K, HACK, like the name of this channel. Use code HACK to get your first deposit doubled up to $100 by Underdog. Go sign up. You won't regret it. You're going to have a blast. Check out Underdog Fantasy. I also want to tell you folks about our other recurring sponsor that we have on this channel, that being BetOnline, betonline.ag, which is all the updated odds, news, and anything for sports betting. It's my go-to source for when I want to be betting specifically on games. I love betting on college basketball or the NBA. Especially, again, during the offseason, always looking for more fun ways to be focused in on some of these other sports. It's betonline.ag and use promo code BELIEVE50. It's promo code BELIEVE50 to get 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts.